Hello everyone.
Hello.
Hi Magdalena, how are you?
Hi Kate. Fine, thank you.
Okay, alright, so we have the historical background, we have the cultural background for Kleist, and now I was curious about his family.
But Kate, before starting with Heinrich von Kleist's family, we should say that it is important not to do one mistake. Never underestimate the 30 Years' War. Because around 1800, every family in Prussia still possessed a collection of memories orally passed down from one generation to the next one. So never forget about that. It was still very present even after 150 years.
Yes, if I think that I grew up in bomb sites, and that was after the Second World War, and when I visited Berlin very recently, there are holes in the fabric of the city where houses have not been rebuilt, and you feel like you're in a jigsaw puzzle with pieces missing. Whereas then, with much slower processes going on, you would have seen far more devastation still around.
Yeah, but going back to Heinrich von Kleist. Heinrich von Kleist was born into an impoverished noble family with good tradition and little fortune. In fact, money, which was a very concerning issue back then for nobles too, as it is nowadays, and it has always been, of course.
Good name, no money.
Yeah. His father was a soldier, as also Heinrich would have been, and before joining the army, Joachim, who was born in 1728, decided to attend university for a couple of years, but since he was a second child, he didn't have the possibility to inherit much money from his own father.
Yes.
So,
old system. Yes.
Yeah, a very old system, and he had two possibilities: joining the army or becoming a court employee. And he decided to join the army, also because as a matter of survival, because he wanted to move on with his life, he wanted to get married and so on. He got eventually married when he was about 40, even if he was not that rich. But luckily, his first wife brought some properties as dowry.
Money, money, money. Very important. This is, in fact, I mean, from a serious point of view, this is why men were always looking for a woman with money, because it was also a matter of survival.
Yeah. So he had no choice. He chose to be in the army. He could have done something else, actually, what we nowadays call a survival job.
Was that realistic though? Wouldn't he have lost his title under the old rules?
Yes, of course. Noble title, gone, and then reputation, gone. And in a pyramidally structured society like Prussia was back then, it would have been scandalous.
Yes, and probably we don't realize the extent of how that would have been scandalous. Because now if a noble gets or loses a title, if you get one, it's kind of nice. If you lose one, oh well, it's difficult to lose one now, but then actually you'd have been out. You'd have been unacceptable at court, you'd have been with your peers, they wouldn't have talked to you. You would really have been in very, very, very serious trouble.
And besides, the state back then had almost a mystical value, and the king was considered to be the personification of God on earth. So,
my goodness, Donald Trump, the personification of God on earth.
Let's go back to Kleist's family. He married late Joachim, Heinrich's father, but his first wife unfortunately died, and she left him with two little daughters. So Joachim had to get married very fast again with Heinrich's mother, and with Heinrich's mother he had 5 more children.
7 children, my goodness.
7 children, but go wonder that when Heinrich was born in 1777, his father was almost 50.
That's quite old. I wonder what sort of relationship he could have had with a man who was much older than him. Was in the military. What sort of relationship was there?
I think no relationship, or a very strange one. Maybe a relationship that nowadays you would have with your granddad. So a superficial relationship, and maybe
or a limited relationship.
Yeah, because Joachim was an authoritative father, not an authoritative figure. He was the typical officer.
And exactly what does that mean then, the typical officer? Because an officer now, we have an idea of that, but an officer then...
What we know for sure is that he was a frustrated man, because he didn't like being in the army. When he was there, he chose not to obey blindly to authority, because he didn't like to submit to orders of incapable officers that he didn't esteem at all. But this had consequences, because if you were in the Prussian army, you had the possibility to
get promotions.
But this didn't happen to him, because since he was a bit particular, he didn't obey blindly and so on.
And insubordinate.
Yeah, more or less like this. So he didn't get over the rank of major.
Weren't they because of the promotions came through your age as well? I mean, if you were a certain age, then you automatically got promoted.
Yeah, there was this unwritten rule in the Prussian army. You didn't get a high rank because you were good, but only because you were older. So everybody knew that this Kleist, this Joachim von Kleist, was a bit weird.
Yes, so, I mean, if the child knew that as well, if the child was aware that his father was a bit unusual that way, was insubordinate, I mean, he probably, or didn't obey.
Yeah.
This probably would have been felt at home.
Yeah, maybe.
Why didn't you obey that officer? We could have had lots more money.
Yeah, or something more to eat,
exactly.
Or better clothes. Or
precisely.
Who knows? But you know, the most important thing is that the Prussian army was the core of the Kleist family life. And we have now a quotation from a letter that Heinrich wrote in 1799 to a former mentor. This letter conveys the feeling, the real feeling of what the Prussian army was, so not a very nice place to be in.
So, the greatest of wonders, military discipline, became the object of my deepest loathing. The officers, exercise masters, the soldiers, slaves, the whole regiment a living monument to tyranny. I was often forced to punish, even if I would have more gladly forgiven, or I forgave when I should have punished. And in both circumstances, I myself was the only one who was to be punished. I was always torn between acting as a man or acting as an officer, but the army is such that I could not be both at the same time.
Well, this is one of the most famous quotations from Kleist's letters. Of course, you can understand why. And this is, our way of coming closer and closer to one of the biggest author in German literature, in the history of German literature. So next time we will be observing him from very, very close, because we are presenting him through his letters.
Yes, we're having a very good look at Kleist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.